RPM podcast, starring Eric Brennan.
It was me and Staten Island Jim in the basement of this house. Everybody else was outside playing cornhole. Staten Island Jim's dad was there, and it involved something that was given to me in prison. As we get set to dive into our short track segment to wrap up, Porsche was favored to win the pole production. Wow, what is wrong with me?
Eric Graham.
That's karma right there, bitch. I'm the big spoon. Squiggly bits, I'm trying to use my European lingo. And they're real big, and you can't miss them. I'm going to be in beef jerky commercials soon. F it. Protests are awesome when you're a race director.
And Josh Matthews. He was all over him like a donkey eating a waffle. Yeah, it was clean, and he wore gloves. Okay? I have pictures. I got nothing. Well, we welcome you all back to the RPM podcast. This is, episode 18, I believe, guys?
I've lost count. I just can't believe all the stupid things we've said in 17 episodes already.
Well, anyway, ladies and gentlemen listening at home, I present to you Eric Brennan, Eric Graham, Josh Matthews, your three hosts, two with stupid names, and filling in, actually.
Who would have thought Josh was a stupid name?
Counted the one.
Anyway, unfortunately, Mr. Graham could not be here this week. He had previous arrangements, which, I mean, it's with his father. I mean, we're hoping he's having a good time. Where's he at? Baseball game?
Yeah.
Which team?
The Phillies?
Phillies? Okay. I wasn't sure if it was minor league. I have no idea. Because he's big with the blue. His father's.
Yeah, the Blue Claws.
Yeah, that's right.
Eric's father is writer Tony Graham for all of our New Jersey natives.
He loves every sport except for racing.
Synonymous writer in primarily Central Jersey.
Incredible guy.
Yeah,
I mean, don't
guy.
get me wrong. It's just, he seems to do everything but racing. But yeah, unfortunately, he's not going to be able to be here with us this week. So we have his cousin Sam, who actually has been part of the show from the beginning. I mean, he's done our logo for basically iTunes and pretty much any time that you look at SoundCloud or Stitcher or Podcast Addict or iTunes, or if you go to YouTube. Actually, I don't know if I put it up there yet. I think I don't know. But Sam has done all of our logo work, our artwork, and all that, and he's done an incredible job. He's been supporting us, from probably during the I don't know year that we had to harass Mr. Brennan to get this show started. But
you have to persuade me to do anything nowadays.
But yeah, so anyway,
Personal problems.
Sam, welcome to the show.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you for
Happy to
filling
be
in.
here. Yeah.
Now, here's what's funny. When we asked Sam to pinch hit for Graham Boy, which, by the way, I can make fun of Eric now all I want since he's not here because he can't throw the fastballs back at me.
I see what you did there. He's at a baseball game, fastballs.
Exactly. Now, you were in perfect
That's
health.
the best segue yet.
Wow. Too
And
bad it's
now-
not racing.
Unfortunately, your work schedule's been, horrendous, and your voice is taking a toll.
Yeah.
So you're a trooper. You're fighting through this already.
Yeah. I make subs. I don't do anything like
substitute teachers or what are we talking about?
He's not like a PA announcer
Submarines?
for the local.
Yeah. I'm the announcer of the local short track.
Oh, wow. Me too. You come here often?
Apparently not often enough.
No. But you might. Who knows?
You never know.
All right. So to kind of also help fill the void and just to have a little fun here, for those of you on YouTube, we have a little. My wife Lisa printed out a picture of Eric so that we can have him here with us. Let's see if you can get a good shot of that. There you go. So yeah, we're gonna have this up.
Yeah, I'll hold on to it.
They can just
I'll
pause
just hold
that
it like
image and just sit on it for about a day.
Anyway,
Sit on it?
no, come on. Oh God! And this is why I don't want to hand it off to you, Mr. Brennan. But you are the true host of the show. I just wanted to have a little fun here, and take us away. Come on.
For the record, we had no idea about any of this. I didn't know there was a picture. I feel like we're honoring the guy even though he's not here. And what's funny is, Josh, how many times has Eric said to us, "Oh, you guys could do the show without me. You'd be fine. You'd be fine. You'd be fine." So now, Sam, your job is to prove him right and kick some butt. But at the end of the day, we're just going to kind of make fun of him because he's not here. So,
I mean, I'm down with that.
Well, I was pretty pumped up, and I kind of still am about today's show.
Well, we can still ask him questions.
Can we?
Yeah.
What do you think about the race on Sunday? Well, he let him ponder that one for a minute.
Well, wait.
Because
Wait, which race?
Yeah.
the Cup race. So
That frightens me more than 2 girls, 1 cup.
well then, I didn't think it was that bad.
Well, I don't know what else he's going to.
I'm sure he'll chime in from time to time.
Yeah.
There's something about a Thursday before a 3-day weekend. The traffic was one thing, but
Yeah.
I was kind of tempted to skip out on the show also and just drive straight down to Atlantic City and sit at the roulette wheel until about 12 o'clock Saturday afternoon. And then I would make my way up to the racetrack. But fortunately, unlike Mr. Graham, I come through. I'm here. And I'm here to talk about what was a good Cup race on Sunday. And in fact, it was something.
Wait, was this a Brennan 9?
What?
The Cup race.
Solid 10.
Well, to be completely honest, this wannabe professional journalist / host / announcer / whatever.
You could have just stopped at wannabe. And...
Yeah, they would have gotten the picture. I kind of slept through about 3/4 of that race. Not because it was boring, just because I didn't know when to stop Saturday night. And I found out the hard way. And I want to thank Advil for all their help on Sunday. And so we made it through that. Unfortunately, I woke up at about 25 to go. And I was happy to see, well, I wasn't really happy to see, but I was surprised to see that the Gibbs cars were all running so well. Hamlin, Kyle Busch, they were up there in the running. And then through an untimely pit stop around that time, Tony Stewart shuffled his way to the front. And then considering how well he ran at Pocono before he crashed, considering the 7th place finish at Michigan, I kind of thought he would have a chance to finish well. Didn't think he would have a shot at holding off any of those guys to go on and win. And in true Tony Stewart fashion, he drove his ass off. The remaining, I forget how long that last run was, but it had to be like 15 or so laps. There may have been a quick caution, I think, for Michael McDowell, who was my suicide pick for the week. So thanks, buddy, for that one. You've got to dig out of that hole now.
You're the real MVP.
He'd kill me. Staten Island Jim, too. We both took him. So thank you, Gary Larson. There's a lot of money up for grabs in that thing. I offered you guys a chance in at the beginning of the year. We pick one guy for one race.
I don't remember this.
It's $100.
I do.
There's like
You were
28
in the wrong text thread when you offered that.
I'll pitch to you next year. It's good stuff. So anyway, Stewart has the lead. It looks like he's going to run away with it. And then Hamlin starts chopping in like 2 to 4 tenths of a second a lap, the remaining 3 laps. He kind of overdrove turn 7, got into Tony a little bit, and it looked like down the hill through the S's it was over. Stewart had to be about 6 to 8 car lanes back going into turn 11, and Hamlin's car washed wide. Stewart did not lift, and he comes through with his first win in what was, in fact, about 84 starts for Stewart, but it was actually due to him missing the races for injury and whatever unfortunate circumstances were between that. It was 111 Cup races since Stewart last went to victory lane, and I thought that was rather surprising as well. We said Sam Hornish winning the Xfinity race was the best feel-good story. I'll pose a question to the both of you, whoever wants to jump at it first. Where does Stewart's win rank? There I go, tripping over my words again. In terms of being a feel-good story.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't put this win above Truex or even Hornish's win in was it Iowa?
Yes.
Won. I mean, Tony should run at actually Eric Graham and I we spoke about this at Wall Saturday, and he said don't keep Tony out until Infineon. So, I mean, he should have won the race. He should win Watkins Glen.
I guess that's one way to look at it, but I think considering since the leg injury, since the tragic accident upstate, since the back injury, and since he has been so publicly outspoken, even on the Friday before the Cup race, he said in the media center, I am just sick and tired, and I'm paraphrasing, of driving a Sprint Cup car. I can't wait for it to be over, and I can go drive something else. To have somebody who's that outspoken about hating their Sunday ride every week, I think I was rather shocked to see him seal the deal and get the win, especially in the manner which he did, where I think he had to overcome circumstances. Now, in terms of where does it rank on the emotional level, I'll put Truex's win last year above it. I'll put Hornish's win at Iowa below it, because I really think that there were a lot of people.
What about Truex's most
600.
recent win? That's what we thought you were referencing.
Yeah.
No, I don't think that was that much of a surprise. That team has run so well since the middle of last year.
They've been doing that well, but they've been having Truex luck of.
Yeah, but you had to know eventually he was going to snap out of it. I don't think anybody knew eventually that Stewart was going to go back to victory lane.
But to lead what 588 miles to 600. I mean, that was pretty impressive.
No, it was a dominant performance, but I wouldn't say it was completely surprising. Like, all right, for perfect example, last year Jeff Gordon goes through the majority of the season winless, scraps and claws his way into the chase format. When we got down to Martinsville, which was the, fourth to last race of the year, perhaps? Or
around that.
I didn't think he was going to win again. And if it wasn't for Kent taking out Logano, he may not have, because he didn't seem to run too well for the remaining of the races. So I think I started to feel that a little bit with Stewart, where I wasn't sure if I was ever going to witness Stewart in victory lane in a cup car again. So that's what I mean in terms of being shocked or surprised or a little bit taken back. And I think he even surprised himself, because when he gets out of the car, he's flailing his arms and pumping his fist. And then in typical Tony Stewart fashion, he had to collapse down next to the car and catch his breath, which is why Eric Graham refers to him as the patron saint of fat race car drivers. Which I
Well, I remember he went through a lot of training when he was trying to run the Indy 500 and
The 600.
yeah, in the same day, and like flying, like they had it. He was set to get out of the Sprint Cup car, then probably Nextel.
I think the last time Stewart ran the 500 was 01, so it was probably still Winston. Pretty sure.
All right. Well, regardless of what it was at the time, I remember he went through. He had like a personal trainer. He was going through rigor. I mean, he was on such a strict diet. He was training like daily to get in shape to be able to physically do that many miles in one day of racing. And I think afterwards they interviewed him and asked him, like, what are you going to eat when this is all over? He said, I can't wait for a big pizza.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, he was a heftier guy.
But it shows that these guys do have to work, and it was a very, very hot day in Sonoma.
Yeah.
I mean, it seemed like those guys were really cooking inside the cars. And again, just to go back to what we were saying earlier, I don't think I expected to see that happen for the remainder of the year. I really thought he would miss the chase, and in fact, as of right now, he's still on the outside looking in because he hasn't cracked the top 30 yet.
Yeah,
he's
like,
9 points back of Brian Scott.
But doesn't a win automatically put you in?
You have to be top 30 or more because NASCAR granted him that waiver. Same thing that they did for Kyle Busch last year.
I gotcha.
But even with that, as I'm fiddling with my microphone,
Everybody at home hates you right now.
what?
Stop.
I'm surprised that it didn't translate into some type of dirty pun, but we'll continue on.
Anyway, but the win is a big part of getting into the chase.
Yeah.
For
Yes.
him. So that said, I brought this up. I did this more teasing and joking because I know Eric Graham is a big fan of Tony Stewart, and it was a little bit to poke the bear here.
That's a really good analogy. Yeah. Look at this guy. Do you see a bear here? Big bear hug for those of you on YouTube.
Anyway, so I said, all right, what are the chances? Because everybody loves conspiracies, right? And as Graham would say, get your tinfoil hats on. What are the chances that Stewart's win was rigged?
Now, it's funny you bring that up. And to
I'm not saying that I subscribe to that.
Right, but
I'm just saying let's have a little fun here.
The talking point is strong enough that USA Today's Jeff Gluck, well-renowned writer, if you follow any NASCAR media members on Twitter, he's one of them.
Tony Graham of NASCAR.
Exactly. He actually took his media opportunity with Denny Hamlin today in Sonoma to ask him if he let Tony Stewart win the race. Now, of course, Hamlin's not going to step up and say yes. But at the end of the day, I've watched it over and over, and I'd be lying if I said the thought didn't cross my mind. But Dale Jarrett made a good point on the rain coverage today where he said, what did he have, a sudden change of heart from turn 7 to turn 11? Like after he took the lead, he's like, oh, oops, my bad. Let's give it back to him.
He's a good actor with a race car.
It looked like he locked up the right front, and then by the time he got it, he tried to turn back down. And he said in the press room today he wanted to drag race Stewart to the checkers, but he saw Stewart just kind of turn left into him, and he knew it was over.
Oh, Hamlin would have won it. He got a great run coming off the turn.
Yeah,
boxed him down.
But nevertheless, I am thrilled to see Tony Stewart back in victory lane, and I think it's fitting, and it gives us a chance for another feel-good story like we almost had with Jeff Gordon last year.
Well, I think the issue with, what Josh brought up the point was that he was hitting turn 11. They even said it during the broadcasting. He was hitting 11 best all day, and last turn, last lap, just to
But now,
ruin it.
here's the thing. And perhaps this is a better question for Josh or even you, Sam, because I know that you have some little bit of racing experience aside from being an official at Wall, which is another thing you have in common with your cousin. If you're Denny Hamlin, intentional or not, you move Stewart out of the way in 7.
Yeah.
You're coming to the hairpin turn 11. Isn't it in the back of your head that this guy who hasn't won in so long and needs to win and is in his final year, perhaps his final shot, that he's going to be coming? And I actually thought Stewart was going to drive through the 11 and through the tire wall, and through the pit wall, and through the grandstands, and out onto the California highway.
Should have.
So I could understand Hamlin overdriving that last corner with that in my mind.
He might have been mirror driving, saying,
Yeah.
I'm going to get bumped because I bumped him.
Exactly.
And that is in your head, but that also, some drivers handle it better than others.
And in this particular case, it looked like Hamlin wasn't able to, and he owned it. And
But at the same time, even if he did handle it, would he have gotten bumped and moved back out of the way?
There was such a big gap, though. I don't know. Just
I think back to that then Busch Series race in Watkins Glen where Robbie Gordon came from half a straightaway down to
That's
try to
Robbie
get by
Gordon.
Kurt Busch. Well, but in this case, I mean, you're talking. I mean, here's the thing.
love you, Robbie.
Stewart was flipping off McMurray in practice on Friday. So he had that fire in his belly all throughout the weekend, possibly because he knows this is his best and maybe one of his last shots to work his way into the chase and search for another championship. So, which would actually be his 4th if he could win it this year.
I don't know. I don't see Tony Stewart walking away from NASCAR right away. I don't see him being like a Jeff Gordon or like a Ned Jarrett or Dale Jarrett. I picture him doing like a Michael Waltrip gig, run a few races every here and there.
Now, here's a little bit of insider information, and I don't know how accurate it is because I haven't seen it anywhere in print media, but and I'm not going to name any names because I don't want to ruin any of my sources just yet. I think I might have told you guys this already. A driver at Wall purchased a modified from the old Buzz Chu team, number 88 car. I think Woody Pitcat was driving it towards the end of last year. Brian Chu used to own the team. They had 2. They were only willing to sell off one of them because they were withholding the other because prior to Stewart hurting his back, he wanted to race a modified at Bristol in New Hampshire. Once he hurt his back, they elected to get rid of the other car because those plans weren't going to come to fruition.
Right.
It seems like Stewart wants to be involved.
Yeah.
I think he wants to pick and choose what he wants to be
Yeah.
involved with. I mean, you remember back in 2005, he was running a ton of truck races.
Yeah.
Actually, not even just 2005. It was 2, 3, 4, 5, like all in
Yeah.
that span. And it looked like he was having a blast.
The KHI?
So it was a whole bunch of different teams. It was actually, I think one of them was a Andy Petrie truck. Another one was as a teammate to Dennis Setzer. And then again, I think he might have ran a Harvick Incorporated truck at one point or another.
Well, the thing is, I think he still loves racing. It's just the commitment and running for points. I mean, while winning a championship is awesome, it would be, I don't know, so much more or less stressful to, I'm going to run this race or I'm going to run this race.
Exactly. And it's funny you bring that up, Josh, because it leads me right into my next point. And amazingly, Denny Hamlin's press conference today at Daytona. I might have said Sonoma earlier. It's because there was a lot of wet weather in Daytona. In fact, all of practice got washed out for the Cup Series and the Xfinity Series today. Hamlin was posed a question by Motorsport.com's Lee Spencer, and her written article is up on the website if you want to go look at it yourself, about the NASCAR schedule. Now, we've talked about the schedule on a number of occasions for many different reasons. In this particular scenario, the question was posed to Hamlin about what he thinks about it and ways that perhaps we could shake things up. Is it a necessity to visit a couple of tracks twice a year? And Hamlin's take on it was rather interesting, and one of them that really stuck out, it was about having different types of races during the week. And Hamlin referenced the West Coast swing. He actually said, quote, "I personally think we need to explore weekday races and shorten our season up. I would love to see a West Coast swing that takes 9 days total. You run those races in a 9-day period and get it over with. You add more weeks off and shorten the season. There's no negatives to it, but you have to pick the places." And Hamlin went on to explain some of his ideology a little bit. The midweek race concept is really on fire today after the re-air of the 2001 Pepsi 400 last night, which was the number one trending topic on Twitter. You had a ton of people, thousands of people, tens of thousands of people, tweeting about a race that took place 15 years ago. That had to be one of the best races of all time, with Junior coming back after his father was killed and so on. But nevertheless, what is going on in the world of sports right now in the middle of the week? Not a whole lot. Mid-season baseball? Meh. NBA draft? Okay, one night. NFL draft? Okay, and I say one night. People really only watch the first 2 hours of the NBA draft. The NFL draft, okay, I'll give you the 4 days. But there's really not a lot going on during the week. So I don't think it's that bad of an idea to give it a shot. And for these guys, it'll free up their weekends because they're already tied up for 38 weeks out of the year, not including sponsor commitments, not including testing, not including having to go to the shop, not including having to appease their not one major sponsor, but now it's 2, 3, 4, 5 major sponsors.
I'm going to make you a truck driver for one of those teams to haul the cars out there.
Well,
do you know what that schedule's got to be like?
But I think the point is to try to structure it in a way like the World of Outlaws guys do. Like USAC just finished up their Eastern Storm. I almost said Eastern Swing, where they come up the East Coast and they visit a lot of the dirt tracks like New Egypt or Grandview and all these other places up here by us. And they're able to squeeze in 3 races a week in some instances. So is the Cup Series something where we can see that? Or will it perhaps take away from the product, which is probably my biggest concern?
I think viewership is going to be
Exactly.
shot.
See, I don't think you have to struggle with viewership. In fact, I think viewership might even be aided. I think the tracks are the ones who are going to be against it because you're not going to have that family who wants to take a weekend vacation to go to the racetrack if it's going to be on a Wednesday night.
Yeah, so
I think that's part of it.
yeah.
But in terms of television eyes, they're all up for grabs right now. I mean, there's really not a lot going on in the June,
depends
July,
on the people.
August months.
You got to look at the schedules of your main demographic.
But I mean, if we pull up the television ratings of the NBA Finals, which just wrapped up a couple weeks ago, and the Stanley Cup Finals, the NBA Finals drew ridiculous numbers. I don't have it in front of me.
I
But
can't figure out why.
those eyeballs are there. I mean, those people are not watching basketball right now. They're not watching hockey right now.
I wouldn't be watching basketball either.
And I mean,
7 games.
If I'm sitting at home and there's nobody around with no jurisdiction over what to watch on TV, perhaps I'll throw on the Met game. If it's going on, just standard middle of the season game.
The problem is, though, do you want to pull people from the stands and over TV ratings? I mean, the stands are shot anyway.
That's probably the best point imaginable.
Yeah.
Is the fact that grandstand attendance is hurting. So let's try something. And I would even take it one step further. You already have the Eldora truck race on a Wednesday night.
Which is a great show.
You already have the truck race at Bristol on a Wednesday night. Why not clump in a few more of those short track events?
If people have vacation days to call out the next day, that's fine because Eldora goes on forever.
Yeah.
I never stay. Whether it's a good night or not for them, because dirt tracks you have a good. I mean, there's prep, but sometimes it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
And last year's Eldora for the trucks, I don't know. It's one groove, and the guys that tried to go high, or no, I think the groove was up high, and the guys that tried to do something low, it just.
Oh yeah, it wasn't sticking.
Yeah,
I
and
thought it was amazing.
yeah,
Well,
but
we'll get to Eldora.
you're
Eric
you.
Brennan.
Anyway, but the point is, I mean, some tracks, or a dirt track, some nights it works, some nights it doesn't, and either way, that takes forever. And
Well, you got the Bristol truck race also, which runs on a Wednesday, and it's a one-day show, practice, qualify, race.
but that's quicker
Yeah, but I'm saying you could apply that concept to other tracks
if you
for
keep it
other
short
midweek
enough.
shows.
Yeah, but what other tracks? I don't see Atlanta doing well in the middle of a week like that.
Right, that's the problem. And on the and then here's the other thing. Let's just say, for argument's sake, this West Coast swing idea that Hamlin's talking about. Here are the tracks that he's referencing: either Sonoma, the road course; Vegas, California, the Oval; Phoenix, the Oval. If you know you're going to run, and I mean, how many cars could you bring out there? 2. You can't bring 2 trailers out there with 4 cars to run all those things. However, if that's the case, and you're coming down to the last few laps of California, you might not want to take a chance to improve a couple of spots if you know you got to use that same car at Phoenix or Vegas a few days later.
And I don't think that's fair. I mean,
But
do you think Tony would have drove inside of Hamlin? Oh, he probably would have.
yeah, in his case, he probably would have.
probably
And with the emphasis on win, and that's probably the silver lining to the chase now in the Truck Series and the Xfinity Series, because that emphasis on winning is still there.
Yeah, but okay, but you just had a post. I mean, maybe a little off topic, but Ryan Blaney, Stewart has Ryan Blaney's spot, doesn't he, in the chase right now? Isn't he 16th?
With well, I think Casey Kane has scored 16th, if I remember correctly, but Stewart would have to crack that top 30 for it to take effect. By the way, speaking of Ryan Blaney, and not perhaps we've.
I think we're drifting
schedule
very
stuff,
far.
My bad.
But
no, not you. It was really him.
no, the schedule stuff is a good topic because you know what? The
I'm not saying
line
it's
is,
a bad topic. I'm just saying I think we're getting way off topic.
Well,
what was the topic?
I thought we were talking about the action of the race. I thought we were going to roll into Xfinity and Truck.
Well, the Xfinity Series had the week off, so there's really not much to tackle on there.
No,
But
well,
the
I mean,
truck race there
yeah.
was. But anyway, real quick, just to close the gap. Remember when the charter system was introduced and Ryan Blaney kind of they didn't get hosed. It was just the way that the system was laid out. NASCAR did announce that if that team was to make the chase, come the final 10 races, they would automatically be given like a provisional where they wouldn't be forced to qualify on time for those chase races.
yeah, but I mean, quickly, Ryan Blaney's been driving his butt off in that car. I don't remember seeing the Woods brothers cars in the running top 10, 15 in years.
Well, I'm sure the direct Penske affiliation helps.
Yeah.
But it's nice to see that if that pays off for him and he gets a chase spot, that he doesn't have to sweat it out when they go to Chicagoland for the first race of having to qualify on time.
Yeah.
He'll know that he's in the race. They can focus on race setup
Yeah.
and chase the championship. So that was good to see. Now, Josh, you referenced the truck race.
Yeah.
I referenced my late night on Saturday.
There was a race.
It was. I didn't think the race.
We will reference the race that you were at, Sam, a little bit later. Well, both of you guys, actually.
Actually, we were actually out, and in fact, you guys
I
probably.
got home right when.
Yeah, you guys just left when the moment that everyone's talking about, and I'll reference Staten Island Jim. He texted us during the week saying the John West Townley and Spencer Gallagher tussle made it on New York City news stations. Like our local news affiliates aired that. I don't even want to call it a fight. I don't know what it was.
I mean,
It was one step away from being incredibly awkward.
I mean, I was in Jersey Mike's, and ESPN had it on all week, and like you said, I mean, to me, in my opinion, I mean that
I'll tell you why it was on all week, because you don't see anything like that in NASCAR anymore. That used to be, it would happen. I mean, how many times, Sam, in the pits at night have you seen, maybe not a full-fledged fight, but you see arguments, you see screaming, and occasionally a fight, people going after each other, and you get security over there, and that's part of racing, and I mean, maybe not for me so much, but I know that whole Bowman Gray show, Madhouse, that thank God was short-lived, was based on, let's see how they can fight this week.
Yeah.
And it happens. People, it's the adrenaline's pumping. They get upset. They feel they were wronged, and everybody, and a fight is a normal thing at a racetrack. All the short tracks around the country. And I don't want to trivialize it. I don't want to blow it up to be some big thing. It happens. It's in the pits, and security gets there. It gets broken up, and it gets dealt with. However, the officials handle it, and it is what it is.
They were smart though. I mean, they decided to do whatever they did. And was it turn 2?
Yeah.
1, 2, somewhere in between then, and no officials were around. It took them forever to get there.
But I want to say it was allowed to go on. I mean, you said no officials were there, but at the same time, I think they also didn't sprint to it.
Yeah. They want the ratings.
Yeah, because they don't have that. And that's one thing. NASCAR actually kind of let it go a little bit.
Yeah.
And I don't know exactly what penalties were handed down, if any, from this. But I'm going to let you get to this in a minute, Brennan. He's itching.
Down,
He's
boy,
itching.
down.
But to see it go on, even though it was a pretty lame altercation, I mean, I'd rather go to a hockey game, honestly.
Yeah, but I'll tell you what. I have a lot of friends who don't watch racing, and they knew about it. they came in like, Sam, did you see that fight?
Yeah.
And I mean, I guess it's cool to see two.
It's good to get. Well, that's the thing. It gets the media attention, and
Yeah.
you don't want to overdo it.
No.
You don't want to overdo it in like every week. Basically, what we see
If
every
anything,
week.
they underdid it. I mean, I was shocked that it went on
That long, right?
Yeah, and the fact that West Townley jumped over the Gallagher's truck and just started picking him up and
Hugging him.
hugging him. Yeah,
Is what it looked like.
Thanks,
But
man.
It. I mean, it wasn't a good fight by any means, but at the same time, it gave it something, and now people are talking about it. Hell,
Yeah.
we're talking about it. So, I want to say it's a good thing for NASCAR to let some of this go, and
Yeah.
to because it's going to help them in the long run if it's getting on the news that much.
Well, I mean, granted, they did wreck their trucks. I mean, I'd rather see this than wrecked race cars or people hurt. That Bowman Gray incident was ridiculous.
See, I have a couple of stances on this. For
Did
one,
I say you could go yet?
I don't know,
Speak
Dad.
now.
God, you would think Eric's here the way he's talking to me.
Somebody's got to fill it.
John West Townley was fined $15,000 for, I guess, instigating the fight. And Spencer Gallagher was fined $12,500. Last I saw, they were going to try to appeal those, but listen, they come from pretty well-off
that's
families,
nothing. They'll do
so
it
I don't
again.
think they're going to have to worry about the dollar amount. However, Sam, I'm going to agree with something you said. I would rather see that than see cars get torn up.
Yeah,
Like Josh, you referenced hockey. There's fights in hockey all the time, and I've
Yeah.
had somebody say to me, "Well, they shouldn't allow that. They shouldn't allow fighting in hockey." And I say, "Look,
They should allow it in basketball.
They
Make
have-
it actually watchable.
no, but I'm saying
Or football.
They have a weapon in their hands. Well, hold on a second.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. I had to sneak that in there.
They have a weapon in their hand. They have a weapon at their feet. I think letting them fight and have an avenue to disperse some of that energy is better than having somebody flip out and high stick somebody in the neck, and then you got a really big problem on your hands. And
Which has happened.
it does, but knowing the options
rare.
there where you could drop the gloves and go with somebody is better than putting them in a precarious position, like putting somebody in the fence at 160 miles an hour. So
I'd rather see the fist fight than. I mean, wrecks are spectacular and exciting, but as opposed to seriously risking somebody's life, I mean, not that, one-off instances of somebody getting killed by a punch or something,
yeah.
Most of the time they keep
But-
the safety equipment on anyway.
Now there's
Exactly.
there's two other ways, which I give them credit. They did do it with the helmets off. There's two other ways I want to look at this. If memory serves me correct, Marcus Ambrose socked Casey Mears a couple years back in the pits at Richmond, and I don't think anybody was fined. Perhaps the fine and penalty levied by NASCAR was because they did it on the racetrack while trucks were circulating under caution. I wish they would have defined that a little bit. But my dentist asked me about this fight yesterday, and because he
Wow.
knows I'm a racing nut. And I
You
said,
say,
I don't know.
"Hey, yo, Eric,
But-
about this race."
his name is Dr. Comito.
Down there.
But no, he's like, I saw those guys, having the fight, if you want to call it a fight. That was a terrible, terrible display of like being mad at somebody. It was just awkward. And I don't want my sport to be represented by that. I want guys pounding the crap out of each other. Now, I'm a lover, not a fighter. So with that being
Are
said,
you also a grower, not a shower?
I'm not. Wow. I'm going to pretend that
Little
didn't
miracle
happen.
grow.
I'm not going to be the one to say you got to get out and beat the crap out of somebody. However,
No, you are.
if you're going to put something out there to put us on the map, like the fight in the 1979 Daytona 500 was perfect. There were helmets flying and guys.
Well,
were
that was
tackling each
history
other.
making, but
Exactly.
you got to think of
But-
the other factors in that. But
This was
The
a
first-
terrible showing of aggression to try to lure people to the sport. If anyway, I think it put it out on a platform to get made fun of.
Well, I think-
well, within the racing community, yes.
Yeah.
For outsiders, it was something. Well, that's different. But here's something else, and this is going to tie into Wall Stadium right now. Wall Stadium Speedway, and you're talking about news. A factory stock driver, although he drives in pretty much everything, Ronnie Mullen, was in a pretty horrific accident. We're going to reference this later in the show. And he's okay. He's a little sore, but he's okay, which is great. There was a video of his wreck in a TQ midget. He flipped, went over. It looked bad. and that made it on all of our local patches. It
Yeah.
made it on New Jersey 12, all that stuff. To the point that my wife going into work on Monday all of a sudden had people asking her, like, "Hey, did you see this guy like crash his race car?" And, like it made it. It became popular. It was a wreck. I mean, and while I don't want to see people wreck, at the same time, it is exciting,
Right.
And it made the news, and it got more people, and they know that. Lisa worked at the track that I raced there, and everybody goes to her, and they're asking her questions about the track and everything. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, and I think it. Also, I want to credit Jim Murdoch of News 12 New Jersey because he got
Yes,
it
he
on
got a good
News,
video.
on News
Good
12.
video.
And Everett Cerny was the one shooting the video, and yours truly was calling it. So I'm going to finish patting myself on the back. It's ironic this comes
Down,
out
boy.
Where's that
now.
mute
Down.
button at?
Last year in the Cup race, when Austin Dillon's car went flying up into the grandstands, that got national media attention.
People just like
So-
wrecks, though.
But every now and
Some
then,
do,
something
yes.
like that kind of reminds you the sport is there. For people who don't follow it religiously.
Yeah, but just because you wreck race cars doesn't mean it's a sport.
No, but it kind of, I think it could
Except for
attract
demo
a couple
derbies.
of people.
Yeah.
Demo derbies, it is a sport, so.
Well, it can be.
Oh, and that weird was it European? I forget the name of it.
Banger racing?
Yeah, bangers.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah, that stuff's
that
insane.
that is frightening.
Well,
that is.
I guess it'll be interesting to see if we have any more fisticuffs. I don't think you're going to have it at Daytona this week.
I don't think you have any with those two, though.
Perhaps not. But
It's a shame that we
Bizarre.
had to discuss Sonoma without Graham here.
yeah, big road course lover. But that's all right.
I mean, I
Sam's
think there was
growing to his level.
he is getting there, but I mean,
Give me 20
you
years.
have to remember what he said about us.
You're the oval nerd. Josh is Josh, and I'm the road course nerd.
It's literally like he's still here. He just won't go away.
He's right here.
He's right here.
He's right here.
These lips are moving, folks. Not even exaggerating. And in fact, these lips are going to talk about IndyCar when we come back on the other
Well,
side of the RPM
actually-
podcast.
I can't talk today.
It's like it's in timeout. When we come back to the RPM podcast, we'll tell you all about IndyCar's return to Road America, a little bit of an incentive that is being added to the Texas makeup race, and we'll eventually start talking about, as Josh alluded to, our local short track, Wall Stadium Speedway. We'll be right back to the RPM podcast. Don't go anywhere. Hey everyone, this is Eric Brennan from the RPM Podcast. If you're looking for a dependable full auto repair and preventative maintenance center, then you need to check out O'Shea's Auto Repair in Wall, New Jersey. The family man himself, Tim O'Shea, has been providing the highest quality of automotive repair since 2000 on both domestic and imported cars, trucks, and SUVs. From race cars to street cars, O'Shea's Auto Repair covers it all. For more information, visit their website at o'shea'sautorepair.com. O'Shea's Auto Repair, supporter of the RPM Podcast and proud sponsor of the O'Shea Auto Repair Factory Stocks at Wall Stadium Speedway. Welcome back to the RPM Podcast. Once again, I'm Eric Brennan, along with Josh Matthews, and our special guest filling in for Eric Graham, Sam Ballard Jr. Good to have you, Sammy.
It's great to be here.
But Eric is with us in spirit and also sometimes vocally.
He's a spirit animal.
That is the important
Sometimes.
thing. So, in fact, Eric would probably enjoy what I'm about to say because
I'm the big spoon.
that too. Texas Motor Speedway has
That
announced.
frightens me more than Two Girls, One Cup.
This probably will. Texas Motor Speedway has announced plans for the suspended Firestone 600. You know, the race that is going to continue in August following the Pocono event. Just before the Pocono event. Watkins Glen will be following that. But this is what made me raise my eyebrows. Speedway will be offering special perks, including a driver autograph session, free vintage IndyCar T-shirts, and $1 hot dogs and Coca-Cola products.
Oh, you're
I am
excited.
going. We are definitely going.
All right.
Can't beat that. Hey, 4th of July weekend, Nathan's hot dog eating contest is Monday.
Dollar wieners.
Didn't Paul Page used to call that? I don't know if he's done. I know he's done with IndyCar, but I don't know
haven't
when
heard
the
him
last
in a
time
while.
was that
I
he
miss
called a
him.
hot dog contest.
Did you know that he did the voiceover for Destruction Derby 2? It was a original PlayStation game, and
Showing your age, Josh.
yeah,
I think I played that.
it was
Shut
funny.
up, youngster.
Off the air, we were just kind of talking, and Sam is Eric Graham's cousin,
Sadly.
and
And also
we're-
an official at Wall.
and we were talking about how I had met Eric Graham years ago at work, And I think I mentioned that he was like a supervisor back in 2003 when I worked with him. And you said what, Sam?
I was six in 2003.
Oh, six.
Six.
Little baby.
Yeah.
I was 13.
Now,
Well,
this is something interesting though. Before we go too deep into IndyCar, it's really funny to me how age kind of, doesn't seem to matter as much in racing.
I'm glad you said in racing, Josh, because that could have went down
age
the road.
is just a number, folks.
No, but I mean, if you think about it, how I met Chris Felber, who is, I want to say 45 or thereabouts right now. Okay. I met him, a few years ago, and I'm 32 now. So, I mean, you're talking, more than 10 years for an age gap between us, and we can talk racing the whole time. And, we may have different interests and different bands that we like, but so many people, regardless of the age, and Sam, I was, working, I don't know how many hours a week, I was, I don't know, I want to say 19, 20 at the time, and you were 5 or 6, and
Yeah.
yet here you are as part of this. I mean, you've been helping us. You're a huge asset to our podcast here, but
I feel special.
you should. You really should. But the whole point being, the age difference all of a sudden just goes away. It doesn't seem to matter, and I've seen it in so many instances involving racing. And it used to be you always went for the very experienced guys that won championships, and now they're going for all the younger guys that are fresh out of karting and whatnot. And karting. Hear that, Eric?
Yeah.
That's
Shout
for
out.
you, for you, Eric.
Thinking about you, big boy. 100%.
Anyway, but yeah, I just thought it was interesting that, regardless of our ages, we can all still talk about this and be pretty respectful and have, I think, good opinions. I mean, even if we don't agree, it's backed by, logic and thought. And I just think that's a really, really cool thing about this sport.
Well, anytime you want to talk about age, I love talking about Eric Graham. So it's a good time to bring him up in conversation. But it's funny you bring this up. And in all seriousness, when I started out as an announcer at Wall, it was 2012, I knew nobody. And there was this one legend car converted factory stock driver who would just call me out by name from across the pits to say hello to me. I was like, man, what the hell is wrong with this guy? And it was Eric Graham. And who would have known that he ended up introducing me to guys like Josh, and at the time like Mike Tash, Tiffany, and Rob, and the list went on and on and on. And then he kind of broke that seal that I had of being weary of walking up to certain drivers and starting to talk to them, especially guys like Kevin Ayers, who was there forever, and Chaz Okerson, and all those guys who I used to watch while going to the track as a fan. And Josh, you bring up the point about, it works the other way as well. I can go up to Blake Barney anytime that I want. The young 16-year-old driver who's continuing on his family's tradition of being a part of the sport. And he's a very, very good, well-rounded, well-grounded kid. Top 5 in the points so far in the sports division at Wall. And I could have any logical conversation with him better than I could with somebody who may have a PhD in psychology or, it's amazing.
Or even people that at your own company, at your job, they do the
Yeah.
same job as you. You can have a better conversation. And I'm not saying because of passion or interest, but there's just something that seems to transcend the age. I mean, I've had similar situations where I'm, like I said, I'm 32, and I'm dealing with guys that are, older than me by a number of years and have been doing this forever. And I always feel a little intimidated. I don't want them to think, oh, there's some young punk kid is trying to tell them how to do something. Well, no, I see something and I would just want to talk to you about. I want to be respectful. But racing, it's
totally different.
It is absolutely different. You can just go and talk about it. And another thing that transcends, it will never change, no matter who you talk to. When they go to talk about a race or where somebody was in relation, they always use their hands and they say, "Oh yeah, I was here." And whether you watch it on
It's like we turned to
through
Italians.
Well, yeah. Hey,
I talk with my hands anyway, but I'm Italian by association. That's what Staten Island does to you.
Oh,
my
So-
condolences.
yeah.
Much appreciated. But going along the same lines, Josh, it seems like that if you have that niche with somebody and you're a fan of racing, it seems like it could strengthen like a friendship with them.
Yeah.
Like if you're a race fan, I will go with you to any track that you ever want. I'll bring the beer. And I don't even drink that much.
I'll hand you
Just
my.
exclude what
you'll-
happened
you'll
last
hand,
Saturday.
You'll hand your keys off to some stranger
right.
from. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I mean, yeah,
They were like
guy's a
family.
race fan. What's the worst that's going to happen? He can't steal my car. Maybe he
Give him
could.
the keys. It's not stealing.
So, but that's my point, though. I trust anybody, though. I'm a sucker.
You right.
Yeah.
You right.
Yeah.
I'm a total sucker. I would trust anybody. Seriously, I mean, some homeless guy go up to me, be like, "Hey, could I have $1?" I'm like, "Yeah, here's 20." I'm not gonna go buy dope, and he goes and buys dope, and he breaks my little heart because I put faith in people.
Okay. All right. Anyway, so
That's New
what
York
what
for
we're
you.
really coming back from break for is IndyCar.
Yes.
That's
once we start talking about the homeless people and dope, Josh,
Yeah.
we got to get back. We got to reel that thing back in.
Speaking of homeless people,
'Cause we're in trouble. IndyCar made its return to Road America, the 4+ mile road course, permanently built road course. And I was a little concerned because I thought how big the track is that it would kind of dilute some of the racing product. I could not have been more wrong. That race was awesome from start to
Sam,
finish.
please make note of this. He noted that he was wrong.
I was dead wrong.
little sound loop.
Yeah.
Fortunately, though, I may not have said this in last week's episode, so there's no video evidence to prove that, but I'm still going to admit that I was wrong. It was a great race from start to finish, and in fact, the last lap was incredible because Tony Kanaan was charging
Yeah.
on Will Power, but he fell just a little bit short.
That's it?
Well, I thought somebody would want to pick
Well,
up there.
But it was something though because they interviewed they quickly talked to Ganassi, Chip, before that start. And he turned around and said we weren't going to win the race. We had nothing for him. But those Reds, I mean, the alternative tire, man, they the speed difference on the road courses with them.
And the crazy thing to watch, as we were talking about off air, was even though Power had Kanaan beat in terms of the push to pass that was left, Kanaan still closed the gap on the
Yeah.
final lap, despite being down 3-1 in the P2P category.
Now, for the audience, can we reference what is the exact rule for tires? Because you have several options for tires, but what is the rule for?
Do you want it? Or
Well,
I
I'm
can
not
touch
100%
on it.
sure.
Well, for IndyCar, they have two different compounds. They have the blacks,
Yeah.
which are considered the
primary
primaries,
tires.
which are harder in terms of grip, which, just like in NASCAR, a hard tire usually will
But
grip
it will last longer.
Yeah.
but they're a little slower. So then they have the alternative tire, as Sam mentioned, which are the Firestone Reds. They have a little red wall on them, just like you would see back in the day when cars had white wall tires. This is the same concept, except
Yep.
they're red. And they're a little bit softer. They wear quicker, but the speed difference is enormous.
Yeah.
And we saw that play out in the final laps of Road
Now,
America.
what is the rule for what you can use? And
The Reds are only for road courses and street courses, right?
Yes, and you have to have them on for one stint of the race. So,
Yeah.
you start on one.
No matter what, you have to have used one set of blacks and one set of reds,
Right.
correct?
Yes.
In a dry weather race. Once it
Okay.
goes wet, it's out the
They're right-
window.
they're right
Oh, yeah, that's another story. But
Yeah.
I just want to clarify this for everybody at home.
Yeah, because Formula One has like 4 compounds that they could pull out in a regular weekend. And
Right.
IndyCar is a little more simple, and the product still benefits from the differing types of compounds of
Yeah.
rubber.
Yeah.
Which
But
I
anyway,
like.
yeah. So I mean, in reality, you could, if you wanted to go on blacks all day, you had to make one stint with reds,
Right.
or vice versa.
Or
Yes.
you could start on one, then your next stint you go back to the other, and then you just run the final one throughout the rest of the race. The options are there.
But don't they get a limited source of red tires?
Yes, but typically they'll map them out throughout the weekend
Yeah.
however they want to. And it does provide another element to the race, just like the push to pass does. And that may have been the deciding element in Will Power being able to hold on. And for Ganassi, they had an awkward day. Scott Dixon, who was chasing Simon Pagenaud in the championship, had a weird motor problem
Yeah.
a quarter of the way through the event. And then Pagenaud himself
Not
had a
even.
motor problem in the waning couple of laps, dropped to 15th.
Yeah.
So his points gap, not to Dixon, but to the rest of the field, kind of shrunk a little bit. And I think the biggest attaboy has to go to Joseph Newgarden,
Yeah.
who finished 8th. after a grinding crash at Texas where he suffered a broken clavicle, and I believe it was also his hand.
Right hand, yeah.
And he was able to come back to one of the most grueling or physically demanding road courses, or permanent road courses, that is, that the series runs on, and actually muster up a top 10 finish after starting 20th.
Well, he spoke. They spoke to him about it, the broadcasters. They said the right hand was the biggest problem. With the quick turning and the inside the race car. But I mean, I thought it was pretty cool. It was kind of like a was it Ricky Rudd back in the day? Broke his back of some sort. I could be wrong though. I'm probably wrong.
It's not very often in 2016 that you see drivers have to play injured.
Yeah.
And to see somebody do it, no less in IndyCar, no less on a road course, no less after such a terrifying accident at Texas, and for him to muster up a finish like that is rather impressive.
What other sports do the contenders play injured?
Well, you'll see it in football to the extent that...
Where? They stub their toe. They're out for 2 to 3 weeks.
It all depends. There's a lot of, like, for example, the controversy over concussions over the last few years.
I'm not talking
turning
about
a football story. They would lie. They wouldn't tell their coach that they feel dizzy, that they have symptoms of a concussion. They would just say, I'm fine. Now they have this
I
whole
think he
protocol
knows where
and
I'm going
Oh,
with
yeah,
this.
yeah,
and
he does.
I
he's
do,
fighting.
but I don't want us to be off base with your rebuttal.
Well, I think props to the doctor for letting him get in the race car.
Yeah, they were able to manufacture a way or some type of way to have the belts not leaning on that collarbone fully.
They had, I think, quite a bit of padding is what they said. But they were still get it to the point that he was safe.
Yeah.
And not going to be, at any more risk with the belts being that way. Anyway, my point was that I don't really see that many, injured football players or basketball. I mean, you stub your finger or something in basketball and they're out for however long. Hockey, I saw a guy lose 6 teeth in one game and keep playing.
Yeah.
I mean, aside from... I can't remember. It's happened twice where a skate has cut a main artery in the neck. Aside from those incidents, I saw a guy have he had a heart attack. Or essentially, I mean, he could not get his heart rate to slow down. He was having a heart attack. They took him back, and he still wanted to come back and play in the game.
Yeah, some athletes are of a special breed.
Hockey is a different sport.
Yeah, but you're more susceptible to some type of injury in hockey than I think you are in motorsports. I mean, in motorsports, usually if you're going to get hurt, it's going to be bad. I mean,
yeah.
Not very often do you just lose a tooth in a motorsports accident. So I think the odds are you have a better chance of getting hurt.
I'm just saying, if it was a football player, they would have been like, nope, 3 months, bye.
It depends.
Well, it's a safety equipment, which is a huge props to racing.
In fact, the people who manufacture the motorsports helmets are now looking into ways to improve helmets in the NFL.
Yeah.
Especially with all the legal backlash for concussions and whatnot.
Yeah.
And also, while we're on the topic of
are you having like weird...
No, you know what it is? Did you ever see when... hold on a second. Did you ever see when somebody...
hang on. Just, folks at home, if you're listening to this not on the YouTube, Brennan, for some reason, has his right side of his headset moved forward so it's not on his ear, and I'm trying to figure out why. And it's been bugging me.
Did you ever see somebody sing the national anthem at a sporting event?
Sure.
And they cover one ear and they leave the other one open? Well, the way that these headsets work, I can hear myself. So I would like to have some of the natural noise to hear my voice the natural way and not just through
This is the first time you've done it.
Because it's something I'm working on, because sometimes when I listen back to the podcast, I feel like my voice isn't as authentic. Like if I was having a conversation with you listeners at your local watering hole, I want it to sound authentic.
What's your local watering hole?
I don't really have one.
Somewhere over there.
What's the most recent watering hole you've been to?
Woody's Roadside Tavern.
There you go.
One of the premier stops for those at Wall Stadium Speedway.
It's a great time.
No, when I hear local, I think Staten Island, where we got some new tiki bar and we got this place called Rookies.
No. Nobody wants to go
lounge.
There. Everybody wants to get away from there. Hence the traffic that you and I both hit on the way down here.
I agree.
And that's why you're here now and not in Atlantic City.
Benny's.
I'm tempted to drive down there. Except I banged in to work on Wednesday, so I really can't call out again. Are you laughing because I said banged in, Sam?
Yep.
You never heard that terminology? I'm going to bang in tomorrow. I'm not going to go.
I clock in tomorrow.
Yeah, well, I wish I could bang in tomorrow.
Okay.
Bang.
All right.
Sounds
Anyway.
like a personal problem.
All right. So
Two
I had
words.
something interesting. I mean, are we wrapped up with Indy? do you
Just
think?
one. While we're on the topic of injuries, just want to say get well soon to Matt Tift, the Joe Gibbs Racing driver who Sam Horner subbed for to get that win at Iowa. Originally, we thought it was for a disc problem in his back. Turns out they actually found a low-grade brain tumor inside of Tift, and he's undergoing some surgical procedures. Not sure how long or tough or treacherous the road to recovery is going to be, but terrible story nevertheless. But he's young. He's only 19 years old. Joe Gibbs seems to have him under his wing. Hopefully he can bounce back from this. And our thoughts and prayers are with him as he gets ready to undergo this. And we'll follow that story as the season goes on. Josh, we'll break away from that to what you have in store, and I'm a little nervous.
No, it's not that crazy. I was thinking about. Well, all right, Sam. I apologize. This was not really with you in mind.
Oh, that's okay.
But this is.
No, not you. That other girl. That's what he means.
Oh, hey.
Yeah.
I can wear a wig.
There's your
right.
first Sam drop.
I can. I'm hearing it already.
I'm in rare form tonight.
Yeah, because you don't have. I'm not doing a good enough job keeping you in check. Is the problem?
Well, Graham told me to keep him in check, but
you are failing right now.
he's got to learn somehow.
Yeah.
Isn't his face intimidating to you? We have Graham sitting right in front of us.
His voice is more intimidating.
The
Yeah.
soft teddy bear voice?
You ever hear him on the
You ever hear him on what?
on the radio
On the in-car stuff?
on the in-car?
The in car.
Yeah, he could be a little rough. He loses his temper every now and then.
Yeah, no, I've heard that. Anyway, so I figured let's have a little fun before we head into our final segment, which will be our local segment. Just amongst us, and folks at home, feel free to email in and suggest other ideas, your thoughts, your complaints, your anything.
Racing Podcast NJ@gmail.com.
Thank you. Also, our Facebook, you can comment there, message us there. That's great.
Share the videos.
Yeah,
around.
keep circulating the videos. All right, guys. What is your favorite racing or driving movie?
Oh, that's
I think I already know what his is going to be, so I'm going to let him. He wants to not say what I think it's going to be. So, Sam, you're up first.
Oh,
I'm hitting you hot and heavy with this.
You might be
Racing.
surprised, actually.
driving movie.
Racing or driving? I'm trying to leave it a little open because I don't want to pin you down too hard here.
Well, thanks. I appreciate that, Josh. I'm young. I'm a Will Ferrell guy. Talladega Nights always puts me in a good mood.
Oh,
And
we're
I-
not friends anymore.
Yeah, well, I know it's not really racing related, but
No, it's just that you like Will Ferrell.
well, he's okay. He's
If
no Tom Hanks.
all right, he is the same character in every movie.
Yeah.
I like the movie Elf. I thought it was good
I
in
hate that movie.
The only reason that movie was any good was because Zoe Deschanel is hot.
I don't even know what that is. Is that the blonde girl?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
Anyway, so
Or I like Dale. Dale was a great documentary about him. I mean, it's a documentary though. I'm boring.
that's all you got.
I mean, Days of Thunder.
I think I would like Days of Thunder over Talladega Nights, but I'd say my favorite movie now is probably Rush, the movie about Niki Lauda.
I need to
Hey.
see that. I don't know
haven't
how
seen
I
that.
haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, I was surprised how much I liked
Was it
it.
2
In
years
fact,
ago it
I
came out?
forced Christina to watch it, and she actually liked it. And
Wow.
that's saying something when
Wow.
she actually likes
Wow.
something that's racing related. So Staten Island
is
Jim
it.
could attest to what I'm saying because he knows 100%. It's
All
an
right.
uphill battle, brother.
All right, so you're saying Rush and you're saying Talladega Nights, Sam.
Yeah, I guess so.
How about you, Sir Matthews?
All right. Now there are a few that I still need to see, like Rush. I've heard nothing but great reviews about it. I don't know. My schedule has been absolutely terrible for 2 years. Between it was fixing a car, now it's fixing a house. I don't. Anyway, it wasn't. I know, in a lot of ways, it really wasn't that great of a movie, but I still liked it. Driven.
I liked the racing aspect of it.
Yeah.
The remaining storylines were a little too fictional, like when Sylvester Stallone almost got his head cut off by the sewer cap.
That
When they
can't
were
happen.
racing to the sea.
If they're not welded down, the cart now, Indy or whatever. Those cars create enough suction underneath they could rip off.
It was a little over exaggerated. Well, the
some of
crashes
it
were
was
over exaggerated, but the point across is pretty good. Paul Page was doing the play-by-play. So
Yeah.
that was a plus
Yep.
because he's a legend.
I thought that was. I mean, because I know a lot of our listeners would say, "Yeah, Dale Jr., Days of Thunder, and all that," and that was a huge impact on my life when I was a little kid, before Sam was born.
I think I was 1. When did it come out? 91?
You're probably not too far off.
Google.
You know what? Days of Thunder had a little too much of a drifting away from the whole racing thing of relationships.
But Driven did that too.
Yeah.
I have to admit they did a lot of love story stuff on the side or whatever. But the fact that it revolved around the kart series at the time was pretty cool. It's Zanardi. I mean, a lot of the drivers had cameos in it.
Yeah.
They were very involved. They were very happy to be part of it. I think there was more to be done with it. I mean, I still need to see Six Pack. Was that Kenny Rogers?
I don't think I've seen that one either.
Yeah, I mean, I know Kenny Rogers. Got know when to hold him.
There you go. But yeah, no, it was he was a modified driver in the movie, and like a down and out modified driver.
Kind of like his music career.
Sam with the
Just
sing.
kidding, Kenny. I love you.
Kenny's a listener of the show.
Yeah.
Got to be careful.
Comment.
Yeah,
Love the video, Kenny.
subscribe. Yeah, but I mean that's kind of bringing it back to the roots a little bit. That was a cool idea. I mean,
Days of Thunder was released 1990, year I was born.
1990. Oh my god. Anyway, so yeah, now that a lot of our listeners are like, "Holy crap, he's young."
Hey, you kidding me? You should see the inside of my brain. Looks like I was born yesterday.
Yeah,
I don't do a lot of thinking.
we know that.
All right, so considering the fact that I think the wind is coming out of some of our sails, we're going to take our last break. And when I say some, I mean me. When we come back on the other side, we'll review the Garden State Classic, as well as our winner, Stephen Reed. If Stephen, hopefully you're listening and you're still hanging on. And we'll talk
He's
about
falling
that.
asleep.
And everything else coming up next
Gotta
week
wake him
at
up.
Wall Stadium Speedway. We'll be right back to the RPM podcast.
All right, this is Eric Graham from the RPM Podcast. Josh and Eric Brennan won't leave me alone until I do one of these read things. So, follow us at Facebook. Either search RPM Podcast, go to facebook.com/Racing Podcast New Jersey. Hopefully this sounds freaking organic enough for Josh because he won't leave me the hell alone about it. But here's your read. Follow us on Facebook. Do it now.
Welcome back to the RPM podcast. Oh, my goodness. I'm Eric Brennan, again joined by Sam Ballard Jr. tonight, as well as Josh Matthews in the Matthews Family Studios. We put this all together for you. Hello to all of you listening to us on iTunes or watching us on YouTube. With 1,000 other options that we have for you to listen to the RPM podcast, no excuses. None. And somebody who came up to us after the races at Wall Stadium on Saturday happened to have a pretty good night. In fact, Sam, it was me, you, and Big Graham himself. And we were hanging out, and mingling with the track crew a little bit. And all of a sudden, somebody jumps out of a car. He's like, "Yeah, you better talk about me on that RPM podcast, buddy." And it was Garden State Classic winner for the second time, Stephen Reed. What a race. Probably the second most prestigious race of the year on the Wall Stadium Speedway calendar. And Reed really played the tire strategy right. And in the process of getting there in the final 10 laps, he held off one of the best in Northeastern asphalt modified racing, Matt Hirschman. It was a really good night.
Yeah, he's a big fanboy of the show.
Yeah, now, Stephen, with that, if you are listening...
That's what you care about, Sam.
Well,
Yeah, by the way, he's the one who wears the white shirt in the pits, so if you didn't like that he called you a fanboy, you can go talk to him about it. Meanwhile...
Wait, did I just defend modifieds?
So you might have.
Oh.
But we're trying to grow this thing a little bit, and I think we're getting closer.
Share it with your friends.
But the best way to do it is to talk to somebody like a Stephen Reed or a Jason Hearn. I think we're going to head down that road. So, Stephen, I'll try to come talk to you this week, if you listen by then. And perhaps we could set something up. You don't have to come all the way down to Waretown. We got the technology for you to call in. And anybody else, if you would like to be a part of this, we'll help make it grow a little bit.
Email,
Stephen,
comment, please.
exactly. There'd be no better way, though, to have the Garden State Classic winner for the second time, I might add, than to come on the show and talk about how we got it done.
Sam is losing it. I don't know. Did you see
No.
I'm
No,
playing
we're good.
to the camera
Did-
for the first
He is,
time all
he is.
night.
This is pretty
so
impressive.
I'm trying to do that.
Yeah.
It's hard. Do you ever look that thing right in the eye?
What's up?
It feels weird, doesn't it?
It does.
Looks like
It's
you're
a wide
tugging at
angle.
Josh's wall.
Oh.
We need
For Eric, right?
Yeah.
So Reed took the win. Reed ended up taking the win in the Classic, which is 125 laps this year, 25 laps longer. As we mentioned, Hirschman finished second. There was Gumley, Moriello, and Kenny Matlack with a top 5. Other notables perhaps include the aforementioned Jason Hearn, who had problems. He was 19th out of 20. In the factory stock race, Richie Byrne got his first career win. And I'll tell you what, him and Rob Haverstick, had the field covered. And they actually drove away from what was a really good fight for third, fourth, and fifth. Byrne gave a really emotional interview in Victory Lane. I love that. And it's always good to see a first-time winner. I'm stealing a line from Jeff Gravatt. But, man, Byrne was just so humble and wholesome. I don't know if you guys had a chance to hear it.
No, yeah.
I didn't get a chance to, no.
And I mean, he embraced it, and you want to see
Yeah.
that. And also give a call to Scott Marr Jr., who finished 5th, after they had a ball joint break on the right front, and it actually shot the battery up to the front of the right front fender. This was about final practice before heats.
Didn't he also lose his right front wheel and rotor often like 200 feet out into the woods at the end of last year?
I believe so. And-
That was a pretty nasty wreck when he hit the wall coming
Yeah.
off it too.
And he also had a big wreck a few weeks back, and they got the car fixed, made it out for the heat, and finished 5th in the feature, which is pretty impressive. So great run by him.
It is, especially in the factory stock division.
And then finally, Todd Pilla grabbed another 4-cylinder win.
You
for the
didn't say his
25
name
lapper.
right.
Todd the Thriller Pilla.
Thank you.
Middleman, there you go.
It was really fun to talk to at Woody's after the races. He ended up with the win. Brian Osborne was credited with second in a legitimate photo finish over TJ Graves on the final lap. Christian LaCicero's return to 4-cylinder competition put him in 4th, and Blake Barney's debut in 4-cylinder competition had him in 5th. And also the TQ midgets were on the docket, and as Josh mentioned earlier, our buddy Ronnie Mullen had a rather grinding crash, which you could see on YouTube or the Wall Stadium Facebook page or whatever, or what have you.
It was on the local, the Tom's River patch, the brick patch. I mean,
was
probably
spammed
more than
everywhere.
Yeah, it went. And we mentioned NJ12, New Jersey 12 News.
And in fact, I was calling that race with Earl Krause, and Earl was mid-sentence, and we really try not to step on each other. And even if there's a wreck, you usually try to pull back and let whoever's talking handle it. But this is one of those moments where I saw that car rolling down the backstretch that I couldn't help but freak out.
Well, it's also a driver that you would normally call in the factory stock division that you're used to talking about. So
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, it's from when you're up in the tower and you see the ambulance start moving, and then you're just waiting. And then Earl and I talked privately, and we said we're going to sit idle while the safety crew does their job, because us talking and echoing through that racetrack is only going to restrict their communications with Ronnie.
Yeah.
And we decided to lay back until we got word that he was okay for the most part. And then we were able to go on about business as usual. Again, the good news is for Ronnie, nothing broken. A little sore, a little beat up. Kind of goes with his year. Matches his other race car. And but
yeah, that was a rough one. I
He'll,
saw the photos of that.
he'll be able to enjoy his 4th of July weekend. So that's a good thing. And speaking of 4th of July, here's what we got coming up this Saturday. Twin races for the 4-cylinders. There'll be 25 lappers. Downs Ford Modifieds are back to their regularly scheduled programming with a 40-lapper. The Snap-on Tool Sports Division will be in action as well. The Elite Maintenance Limited late models and the Green Flag Driving Experience Legend cars both make a return to competition after some time
What are the
off.
factory stocks doing?
The factory stocks will be off this week. And also this week, one more thing I want to note, cheers to track management for doing this. And you really don't get enough credit. We did this on Memorial Day as well. All active military and veterans will get in for free on 4th of July weekend, which is a great move by them. And I applaud the people who run Wall, not only because I work for them and love them, but because that's awesome, and there's no better way to thank them.
Oh, yeah.
On July 9th, it'll be Beach Luau night. July 16th is the huge night for the factory stocks, Josh. Triple 25 lappers, and I have a wedding that night. And I'm so
no.
mad.
I'm going to have to get in the booth. I mean,
so angry.
triple.
And between the three of us in these 4 walls, I was not going to go when I first got the invite, because I have another wedding in August, the same night of the Woodies, 105. So, and that one I have to go to. It's a really, really close friend. This one is a work.
It's only a family member.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's only my mom.
It's only my mother. So, but after sitting on it for a little while and realizing that my relationship with this person is pretty strong, and as well as her fiance, it's best that I go. And as Earl Krause said to me, the races will be there the following week. So I really don't have to worry that
That's
much.
true, but at the same time, I mean, now do I have to call the factory stocks for you?
I'm pretty sure that Earl, Gary, and Jeff will have it covered for me.
Okay, so should I get in a car?
Yes.
Yeah.
You got 3 shots to get out there and turn some laps.
Say it again. Say what the event is.
Triple 25s for the factory stocks.
Wow.
Originally scheduled to be twins. That's huge. That is huge. I could have said it better myself, Mr. Brennan. So and one of them is rescheduled for the May 21st rain out. Thus the reason for that. For a full schedule, details, and information, visit wallspeedwayracing.com. On the national level, real quick, a whole bunch of stuff got canceled today at Daytona, so don't even worry about that. In fact, I'm pulling for rain Saturday night just in time for me to get home so that I can watch the 400. The Xfinity race will be tomorrow night at Daytona. We also have the aforementioned Coke Zero 400 at Daytona on Saturday. We told you about Formula E having their doubleheader on Saturday and Sunday, 10:30 a.m. on Fox Sports 1. And we also have Formula 1 back in
Yay,
action.
we can actually watch it around here.
We will. Formula 1's back in action for the Austrian Grand Prix. That'll be at 8 a.m. on Sunday. And IMSA's back at the Glen for the 6 hours. That'll start at 10 a.m. I think I got everything in there.
I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit here. Motocross, Supercross.
You know, the motocross storylines I haven't really been following that much, with the exception I know that Ken Roxon's been killing it. Ryan Dungey got beat up. Cole Seal, I mean, like, with a fall, not like John West Townley, Spencer Gallagher style.
I'm not sure that would qualify as beat up, though.
And no, it wouldn't.
Pride broken.
More like an awkward sumo wrestle.
A takedown.
And I saw that Cole Seeley got banged up as well, the other Honda rider. So it's it's hard to follow motocross. Supercross is a little bit easier, but I'll try to keep tabs on it. Do you have any information on that one?
I don't. I was just trying to put you on the spot. NHRA, anybody?
Appreciate it. In NHRA news, happy trails to V Gaines, longtime Pro Stock racer, 4-time NHRA Pro Stock winner, announcing that he is retiring effective immediately.
Out of the
Second
blue.
veteran driver to retire mid-season. First one, of course, was Bob Vandergriff, which in turn cost Leah Pritchett her ride originally a couple weeks back. But V Gaines was around the sport for a while,
Yeah.
and I'm sure he'll be missed. You know, the Pro Stock division is kind of in flux right now with the transitions that they made and the Summit Racing team with Ken Black Motorsports, Jason Line, and Greg Anderson just killing them. So I don't know how that's hurting performance. I don't know if it had anything to do with it. For Gaines, he said in a statement that the fun's just not there anymore. So
Oh, that's I mean,
It's racing.
yeah, that's it very much is racing. Something else I want to touch on. This is more going to be personality, interview, announcer related. Eli. MRN.
Oh boy.
Oh.
Well, listen. That's tough. All right, so if you don't know what we're talking about, Eli Gold, who was a longtime voice in NASCAR, in fact, he was on TNN, CBS for a little while, doing Cup, trucks, you name it. Eventually, when that contract ran up and Fox and NBC took over, he was one of the odd men out. And he kind of went back to doing Alabama college football games. Then MRN kind of pulled him back to do some of their radio stuff. And something happened that resulted in a suspension right around the Richmond race. And he has since been relieved of his duties. We don't know any more from that. I would trust on the people at
Other
Deadspin.
than they've parted ways at this point, and I think that's it, right?
Yeah. Now, Deadspin did release a story back when the suspension took place. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Deadspin, but they kind of cover the funny and twisted side of sports. And you guys can go look it up if you want. It's out there that he was possibly being investigated for an incident that took place in the workplace.
I did read that.
And nothing more followed up on that. So I don't want to speculate. I don't want to go any further than that, especially because he's a Brooklyn boy. So New York rep. I'm not gonna kick a man when he's down.
That's why I'm just
So-
saying that's something
Yeah.
that, NASCAR or racing related.
Yeah,
reference.
it's a voice that will be missed. Now I hope he could find his way back to the stock car division of the sports world rather soon. Don't know if it's going to happen.
Well, I mean, I wish we could hear more Bob Varsha. I mean, I got to hear him for the second half of 24 Hours of Le Mans.
Yes.
That was, I mean, I don't know. He
Because
was
IMSA made that weird decision in upper management. They didn't want him calling their races this year, and they turned it over to Brian Till and Greg Kramer, I believe. So,
But
not that they do a bad job, but
I would hear Bob Varsha for so long on F1, and I don't know. I don't know what it is. I don't know if he's become more tired or if it's just how he is. He's always, at least in my experience, been really into what he's watching and really willing to talk about it. And I don't want to use the word edgy because I don't feel that's the correct word. I don't feel like he's the Howard Stern of color or play-by-play.
no, he's professional.
I think he's professional, but at the same time, he'll say things that are a little maybe off color or a little
Not
funny.
expected.
Like he quoted Kimi saying, during the Formula E race, he quoted Kimi saying, the driver was radioing the crew and saying something, and it was another language, and on the U.S. broadcast, I didn't know what he was saying, and Varsha says, he's probably saying, "Leave me alone, I know what I'm doing." And I thought that was really funny,
Yeah,
but there's a lot of
Varsha's
announcers that
got a lot
would
of
never
wit to him.
say
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And I thought it was really funny. I thought it was really entertaining. I mean, I knew where it was coming from, but it seems like did they not like him because he's got a
No,
sense of humor? Or
I don't know.
What the deal?
I think they just were looking for somebody to blame for the. I can't speak on behalf of IMSA and what they're doing, but I think they wanted to switch things up a little bit, and he was one of the first ones to go.
Right.
So, which is a shame. They actually shook up that entire broadcast team, but Varsha was the key figure of it.
Yeah.
Also, two more notes on the broadcasting side. Back to the Eli Gold story.
You're just loving all this broadcast.
David Hyatt of MRN, I am available. So, just let me know. If you need somebody to come in and fill in, I can make it happen. Talk to my buddy Jim Murdoch. He's got all my videos available, and you can hear me talk about race cars. Also,
He will work for hot dogs.
No buns, though.
We'll work for free. Free for an MRN gig.
Yeah, you have to remember.
I don't like buns. That was my legitimate pitch to MRN right there. And you guys
Exactly.
just soiled it.
Yep, that is my job. All
Well, it's fun.
I'm ashamed and humiliated.
right. Anyway, what's your second?
First week for NBC covering NASCAR.
Yes,
for
yes, that's
2016.
right. Well, that's part of why they've been playing the throwback,
Yeah, so
Trying to
far,
trying to build the hype.
the one thing that I really like about, and I'm not biased because I would do anything for any network, NBC really seems to go in with both feet. They really seem to be planted in their NASCAR coverage, which is good to see. I mean, even their whole mantra in commercials and advertising is we'll
it's
take it from here.
Everywhere.
So they go at it. And it's whether it helps the sport or not, I think it's yet to be seen. It may have worked out last year, but they have all the ingredients to really put something together, and we'll see how 2016 goes for them.
I'm going to miss Jeff Gordon in the booth. He's
He did a surprisingly
Really
good job. But I mean, you could relate that to you mentioned Jason Hearn. Coming off the track and going right into the booth and
Yeah.
being a natural. I mean, some guys have it, some don't.
Yeah.
Some people
and
they're
it
really
worked
good at
out
it.
really well. Although at the same time, I think a lot of the NASCAR drivers have become incredibly polished. I mean, even Kyle Busch isn't like irritating anymore.
Well, think of what
kind of disappointing. We're losing the personality.
Think
Yeah.
of what Fox does though for the Xfinity coverage throughout the year. They dip a couple of guys in for the Xfinity coverage.
Yeah.
I thought Denny Hamlin at Talladega was well above average in terms of what I was expecting. Out of all the people that they had in the booth, I mean, Danica Patrick, Clint Boyer, Brad Keselowski. Keselowski was a lot of fun. But
Yeah.
Hamlin, in calling the last few laps of that Xfinity race at Talladega, I said, man, this is a guy who could do this if he really wants to. He's probably got 1,000 other avenues he can go down to once his driving career is over. But he had the energy, he had the enthusiasm, he had the wherewithal, the knowledge. I thought he was the surprise of announcing, just like Hearn.
Is one of those avenues like a real life or live action version of Beavis and Butthead?
No, Josh. No.
I mean,
Yeah, never mind.
Junior was pretty good.
yes,
when he
at
called the
Michigan.
race.
I thought that was awesome as well.
But
The
I
thing
mean-
is, I don't.
He is Dale Junior, so
No, but you
Yeah,
love to see
that's
somebody get
exactly-
excited, and that's what he did. He was. You could tell he was at the edge of his seat if he wasn't standing up watching the end of that one. Which there's been other people in there who weren't as excited,
Yeah.
yeah.
even if they were handed moments that were breathtaking. But
All right. Well,
Don't get me started about announcing. I'll go.
Yeah,
on
I know.
I was about to say.
I kind of want to cut him off.
That's why
here a
we
little
were
bit.
watching the throwback last night, real quick.
Oh,
and
God.
I was showing Christina it for the first time, and I'm saying, "Hey, you got to watch this," and she hasn't seen it. But I wasn't telling her to watch Junior. I was telling her to listen to Alan Bestwick and how he called the end of that race because that's what I care about.
Sam, have you ever sat down and watched a race with him?
Oh, Woody's
Oh, God.
all the time.
Yep.
The
Yeah.
truck race.
Oh yeah, when Tyler Reddick made a 3 wide, I nearly jumped out of my chair.
When we first started the podcast, I want to say it was pretty early on. We had the Daytona duels, and we're like, oh yeah, and the Daytona the duels are happening right now, and like we pretty much like we tied it up and we went in and watched, and we're sitting on my couch on the TV that I got pretty much just so that he could watch the duels.
That's a friend.
Yeah, you owe me. Anyway, so
Oh, you what, Josh?
and somebody, whatever. There's a wreck, and he jumps off the couch. He starts shouting out names, and
Is he
he's.
blushing?
A little bit.
I'm pretty sure I just left the.
Yeah, when Brian Scott wrecked, I nearly woke up Bryce.
Yeah, exactly.
I did.
Anyway, so we have a lot of road course
Actually-
stuff going on, right? We had Sonoma. There's been a lot.
Yeah.
Well, Watkins Glen's coming
But
up.
now we're going back the other way. Now we got Daytona this week. Indycar will be back in 2 weeks at Iowa, the short track event, July
Well,
10th.
I kind of was, going to see if we. Well, we also talked about 24 Hours of Le Mans
Yes.
again, but I want to give a shout out to one of our listeners, Aaron, who has been, sharing, reposting. He happened to drive my car back at Turkey Derby. I think the second day of Turkey Derby. I just want to give him a shout out. Thank you for listening, Aaron. You're awesome, and thank you for sharing. And I don't know what else to
Your
say.
check
It's
is
just-
in the mail.
Yeah,
There you go.
exactly.
Signed,
Yeah.
Also,
sealed,
it would
and
be an
delivered.
RPM podcast. We did talk about my buddy Vinny Troya and Nick Van Wickle coming back in their legend car this week.
And did
love
we
Vinny.
forget
He's a
anybody?
good kid.
We have to talk to Sam. Hi, Sam.
Hi, guys. It's been great.
That worked out good. So with that, we hope you all enjoyed this edition of the RPM podcast.
Don't forget our good buddy Eric Graham, who,
He
here's his
may
picture.
be back next week. He may not. Sam may be back next week. They both may be back next week. Who knows? Only one way to find out. Come back next week and listen to the RPM podcast.
Please subscribe. We have multiple avenues. Contact us, email us, comment on Facebook, message us on Facebook. We are very good with responding there. We have multiple people involved that can respond to you, that can add you in if you want to call in, if anything you want to do.
And guests are coming.
If you want to argue with us, please come on. Tell us how dumb we are, how wrong we are. I can't wait to argue with you.
You could argue with Eric Graham's picture. It's right here. Just say whatever you want to it. He might answer.
Yeah, well, I know his answer to like almost everything. I think.
4 heat races, top 4 to qualify. Okay.
That's it. We're done. So, again, for Sam Ballard for pinch hitting, even with the sore throat or the worn out voice, whatever you got going on.
It was fun.
You sure?
Yeah, it was great.
Are you falling asleep on us?
You-
No, we're
Balls or something.
we're good.
We'll take care of you.
Oh, you always do.
For Sam Ballard, Josh Matthews, I'm Eric Brennan. We'll see you all at Wall. I hope you have a fantastic 4th of July weekend. Stay safe, and we'll see you next time on the RPM podcast. Good night, everybody.
Go to Wall.